Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tabletop. Today we are talking about that most player versus player of games, a PvP ttrpg.
Did you just describe the thing by saying the thing again?
Yeah,
that's
right.
It's the first thing you learn not to do.
That's how definitions work. You always use the word that you're defining in the definition.
Tautology.
Right. Exactly.
Is that right?
That's correct,
okay,
that is 100% correct.
He knows Greek.
How the fuck don't you know you're Greek?
It's all Greek to me.
Hey.
All right, so let's talk about PvP.
Well, let's introduce ourselves.
Yeah, let's introduce ourselves. I'm your host, Nick.
It's me, Franco.
It's your boy, Rio.
I'm Shade.
Okay,
and I'm going to destroy every single one of you motherfuckers.
So why don't we give a little bit of background here?
Oh, because of PvP.
Yeah.
Oh, you were doing a bit.
What did I do?
No, I would never harm you guys.
I was just talking.
Sweet baby.
Is it something about Greek language? Or are you about to get really...
So here we go. So recently we went to, and we do this every year. We've talked about it a little bit on our podcast. We went to a cabin in the middle of Vermont. We won't tell you where because it's such a cool spot. We want it for ourselves. A murder happened there. Which
you can't say that. They're going to look for it now. They're going to be furious. Be like, I must know where this is.
I must know.
Oh, man.
Well, I've given you enough clues. Anyway, we go there and we play D&D 5e. And we have big PvP battles
and other
once per year. And other things. Yeah. It's like
mostly
4 days.
Towerfall.
Yeah, mostly Towerfall.
We do play an unhealthy amount of Towerfall.
It's so fun. It's so fun.
Highly recommend the game Towerfall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed watching Anna Green Gables while you all played.
Yeah, you were doing
There
other
are two
things.
types of people. But yeah, so we always do this kind of PvP thing. Shade, you're the one who actually designs and runs this traditionally throughout the years. I think we're on our 5th.
Yeah, we just ended our 5th.
Yeah. So today, why don't we talk, since it's all fresh in our mind, about PvP mechanics, how to run PvP in a game that is, supposed to be cooperative.
Share with you all like a 15-minute long montage just happened in my brain.
15 minutes?
As soon as Nick said,
we only
time him.
Yeah, we only had like a minute between when I said that.
I know, but there's like a lot of thoughts all at once. That's what I meant.
Yeah, let's do it.
Said,
let him cook.
Let's talk about our PvP mechanics. And just in my head, it's like, oh, small town, 2 mechanic shops.
Yep.
They just every Friday they meet in the parking lot between their 2 shops and they just have it out.
Oh, they're fighting.
They're fighting. They make little weapons and stuff like battle bots, and they just go at it because they're mechanics. So they just engineer weird shit.
So this is like a spy versus spy.
Yeah.
Do they fight each other physically, or do they fight their robots against each other?
Robots and like humans together
make robots?
Like,
are they sentient?
Augmented?
No, they're not sentient. Why does everything have to be sentient with you?
This guy's fucking obsessed.
Do the
with
robots
sentience.
eventually fall in love?
No one falls into love.
They eventually fall in love.
This is
PvP,
am I the only one that gets this?
No, I get it. I'm just being...
I think it's a good show. I think it would be a perfect...
Sorry.
This is good,
no, please, it was good.
You know, Rio, what is I think that would be perfect in? It would be an amazing B plot tucked inside of another show that doesn't acknowledge it, but you just see in the background these mechanics constantly building shit.
This guy's
and then,
all
like,
about
fighting.
Family Guy shit.
Yeah.
Nick's too Family Guy pilled.
Guys, Shade, man, every time Franco says something mean about my taste in media, Shade goes wild. Sorry. Also, I want to clarify that I'm not a Family Guy person. Though, fun fact about Family Guy, because I do know everything. Fun fact. It is actually a perfect Spokane, which is a improv form where you have like your A plot, and then when people tap people out, you do like cut tos to like other jokes and scenes they do, and then eventually you come back to the A plot, which is a Family Guy episode.
It would be more impressive if those were 1, funny, and then 2, improvised. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna write a Spokane, like that seems like that would be like a lazy thing to do instead. Yeah, maybe that instead of organically building out references from the plot in the story.
Yeah.
So when should you do PvP in your tabletop game?
When one person is revealed to be a Family Guy fan.
In the B plot, Shade. Obviously.
Our specific game came out, and I'm sure we've said this a billion times before, but it came out of a wonderful little Extra Life event where we were playing Dungeon Mayhem, which is, a fun little D&D property. card game where you have like a paladin, a warlock, or a wizard, I think. Just various classes and little cards, and it's a card battle game. Very cute, very fun, very quick. Fun little time, and
that's how I can describe most of my Friday night dates.
Hey, cute, quick, and fun.
All right.
Anyway, and we were like, it would be cool to take our current characters and fight against each other.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I can do that. No problem. So
Did you just say no hope?
no what?
No hope, no problem.
No hope, no problem.
No, my
holds
life
barred.
mantra. No hope, no problem.
No
Will
problem.
it get better? I don't believe it will. I'm fine with it how it is.
No hope, no problem.
So
that-
why don't we talk about all the different iterations in which you've done, because it hasn't been the same thing every
Well,
year.
that's true. I will just say that's a very we do that. That's a very specific reason that we are doing PvP, and I think that that's a great reason to do it. Should you be doing PvP at your game table? That's a collaborative storytelling where I'm a rogue and I stole from the parties.
Don't do that shit.
Don't do that shit. Just fucking it's
How would
tiresome.
if you
So
were
rude.
before we get into the main topic of how to run a PvP
Yeah.
game, what would you do if you got into a part in the story that you're running where it was like PvP is gonna happen, like in the story, not even mechanically, in the story, this player and this player are at a level of conflict that is going to
Rock,
most
paper,
likely-
scissors.
Yeah.
yeah,
Rock, paper, scissors.
Great way to
combat.
do it.
Yeah. You choose like this is from I saw this in Cave Girls blog, and it's like
Whoa. What is the Cave Girls blog?
it's called Cave Girl. She makes great stuff. She made Stygian Library and Gardens of Yin.
Oh, so
They
you're a
are
content
generative.
producer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Cavegirlsgames.blogspot.com.
Yeah. I hope that's right. I don't know. Okay.
That's right.
But it's like basically a rock, paper, scissors thing where you're either like, I'm defending, I'm attacking, or I'm doing like a flourish type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
And then like depending on what you do, a different thing happens and then you resolve the conflict that way. So you could do it that way, and then that way it's not like, okay, let's roll for initiative, and then it's just like kind of based on like it's kind of more interesting if the thing happens at the same time. Like when you're doing like PvP, when you just having two players butting heads against something and like doing a duel or something like that.
Yeah.
It's more interesting if you just have it happen at the same time.
Because that's always really good. Because the one thing I've noticed about PvP in our 5e games is that the classes by themselves are not designed to be solo
Nope.
against
Yes,
anything else.
right.
So having that as a more fair way.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if the fighter and the wizard are having a fight, all the fighter has to do is wait until the wizard has gone through like all of their spells. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to attack them now.
Well, here's the thing that I was going to say as sort of like a way to mitigate it. Maybe this is too like neocon of me or whatever.
Neocon.
But like, couldn't you
Is that a
just
furry
say,
thing?
Well, I'm just saying it's a political thing. Like,
It's neoconservatives.
Oh,
but like,
so there's a furry thing involved.
yeah,
Yeah, I
sure,
guess there could
sure.
be,
But
yeah.
like secretly, cannot come out to the.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with
constituents.
furries.
Yeah,
Totally
exactly.
fine.
No, but
for
the
political life.
neocons are projectionists
yourself.
and terrible.
Well, but the thing about them is that like their like philosophy is always like if you have a strong like power projected in the world that people won't fuck with you kind of thing. It's like a really bad, it like doesn't really work and also just causes a lot of chaos in the world. Just gonna put that aside. But in a game, do you think it would work if you're just like the first one who tells me that they want to like attack or whatever, like no questions asked, you kill the other person and the rest of the party then gets to react.
You're
to
talking
that.
about the prisoner's dilemma.
Yeah, exactly. So then it becomes a thing of like, no one wants to say like I have a combat with them because the GM is going to have it end in a death, and it is uncontested. You just kill that other person. You're basically like threatening the whole
It's actually
table.
a sick idea
Yeah.
for stopping PvP.
So there's a very good example of this in Dimension 20.
Okay.
It's Crown of Candy, the Crown of Candy season. Emily Axford's character and Siobhan Thompson's character have reason to stand against each other, and he pretty much sets up this exact dilemma. It is such a rewarding and amazing moment.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. Okay, so are we saying that two characters have beef? Sure. And the first person that says I attack wins.
Yes,
That's what
just
he's
because they
saying,
get
yeah.
the drop on them. And the understanding is whoever says that first to me as the GM, you succeed, but then the party gets to act. You know what I mean? Like you will kill them because they will struggle. There's no other thing. You kill them. Then you have to, both in real life, deal with the personalities at the table getting mad at you for doing that. And then 2, in game, you have put all this effort
Person non grata in the party.
Yeah, you are now person non grata. And like sometimes within a game, this can go great. This can go great because most of the time when you have like conflicts in the party, it's RP related. Right. And so you're giving them an opportunity to RP the end of this sort of like relationship.
You have to squash this beef by killing one of you.
Exactly. Or you
and
say
then
like
ostracizing the other.
Or you can be like, hey, guess what? No one's going to do that because I've made a pretty clear statement that this is the only way that ends.
It is pretty neocon.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
exactly. And I will say, like, Dimension 20 did more of the actual prisoner dilemma where it's like, each of you have the opportunity to write this on a card, a piece of paper, and we will then reveal. And depending on what you're...
because are you guys not having the instinct to just go and like try to say it first?
But then
that's exactly how I'm like.
But then Rio, like,
whoever says it first, like, oh, well, I got to be first, so that I don't die.
But think about the 10 minutes after that statement.
Yep.
I never think about the consequences.
There you go.
There you go. But I actually...
We're just going to end up killing everybody in Nick's games.
I haven't seen this episode, but I think that maybe that it's the way that he does.
I'll send you
too.
a clip later because I don't think you're going to watch it.
Probably
so just
not.
the
But
clip's very nice.
I really love the idea of like really going prisoner's dilemma with it to stop what you just said, by saying like both of you write something on a card. If you attack, then you win. If you both attack, both of you die.
Yep.
And if if you both don't, then we can carry
then you
on.
find a path forward.
Yeah, and so that would give you, Rio, the opportunity to be like going as fast as I can to be like, I killed them. Doesn't actually win you anything because if they do the same thing and write it down on the card, then you both die. Yep. So it's like you both are offering something.
Oh, you know who else did that? Griffin McElroy in the Suffering game.
Yeah.
Had something like that.
Yeah, he kind of did that, yeah.
In which they were playing against an NPC part, trying to guess would they hit the button or not hit the button.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Man, that was a good arc.
It's a good arc.
Yeah.
Just came out in graphic novel form.
Oh, I have to do that.
Yeah, I gotta
anyone
catch
likes
back up
the
on that.
adventuring,
Yeah.
party.
I used to be like, everyone's always like, balance is the best, stupid, whatever. I think it probably was the most well-constructed out of all of them because it was organic.
Yeah, although I've heard a lot of good things, and I just haven't really kept up
Amnesty,
about
I
the
think, is still mine.
Amnesty's very
like
good.
better.
I like the Amnesty.
Amnesty is obviously my favorite, but
Back to PvP.
back to if you sanction the PvP.
Yeah, I mean, so again, doing something that is...
I'm just picturing unsanctioned PvP, like after the DM leaves.
Everyone it's like Anchorman where they all
street
take
rules,
out.
Change that to room. All right, everyone pair off and do it.
So, I think something quick in the game, if it does happen for some reason, but I think that's also hey, we're going to pause for a second. Are you two players okay? What's going on?
No attacking of the dice or player sheet.
I also want to throw this in for the listeners. There's also a game called The Last Gasp by Critical Role's Darrington Press, which basically lets you RP the final conflict between two people without having to be worrying about character mechanics, class mechanics, and stuff like that. It's really just like you RP the whole thing out.
Takes about 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's also a good way to
like
do
a
it
supplement.
without if you both players are like, we're not having actual beef, but these two characters need to like work this out in some way.
Absolutely. Now, for our purposes, there was a shared agreement, and every table probably comes to this at some point where it's like, hey, I kind of want to see if my character could beat up your character.
And also, we wanted the excuse to build level 20 characters and go full out with like
because the first year we did it was like we were level 10, level
for
11
most of our
something.
characters and our campaigns were mid tier or so.
And I think that was the first time I know for me that I'd ever played a level 20 character. Like never played a level 20 character, so it was a lot of fun.
So yeah, the first in the 5 years that we've done it, and we'll continue to do it. We're gonna I always try and do something a little different. I think. We're going to also expand this more and more each year. But the first year was very much I built a 6 by 6 foot map. Is that right? That seems too large.
No, it was the first year was huge.
It was a massive
because
map.
We would play on portions of it because it was printed across multiple.
No, it was one whole print.
Really?
Yeah. Because I work with a I know people.
Shade's got a guy.
I got people. So no, but it was like a 3 or 4 by 4 foot map, massive map, and it was literally, we are level 20 characters. We are puppets of the gods, and I created an entire just like rule set because I also wanted to play. I didn't want to just DM it, so I created a lot of like randomness and things like that to make sure that yes, I built this map, but I don't know what the outcomes. And I established that my character had been in this map before and did know a couple of things, but had only succeeded in the past by literally hiding, and he's not going to be able to do that this year to the effect that he did previously. And it was just really about building randomness and chance, and then allowing us to...
Was this something that had the incident?
Yes, the incident points.
Yeah.
So there were these various 10 of them points on the map that you would go to them, and there was a large table, and either something really good would happen for you or something really bad would happen for everyone.
My favorite incident point was the one that forced everybody on the map to be on within each other, within melee of each other. That was the best.
That was teleported everyone together.
Yeah, that was sick. I highly recommend that if you're going to create a stadium style PvP
will
game.
Hide.
Yeah.
The other thing that I really enjoyed about that one was the Cloud Giant, that got someone got
that was
turned
year
into.
2.
Was
Macho
that year
Man?
2?
No, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Was that year 1?
That was year 1.
That was year 1?
Yeah, that was year 1.
Yeah. I remember him like crushing his way into like the castle or whatever.
Yeah. We had a tower. And I had made something where essentially Mordekainen at one point was on this battlefield and had turned a man into a tower that sat upon a hill inside of a bit of water, and that hill was actually a giant dragon turtle. It turned out it was chaos.
And then a dreadnought.
The Dragon Turtle Island was year 3.
No, that was.
I have no memory.
It did come back next year.
It's all a blur.
And then the dreadnought fell through the dome.
Yep.
Crashed into the dome.
And it was a 5x5 map. I just double checked because it was I remember it was 300 tiles from end to end.
One thing I will say, just getting into like the things that we really liked and the things you should put into your PvP if you're trying to build one, is every single year has had some element of PvP
Some elephant?
VE. Element of PvP VE. So there's always a environmental hazard or several or whatever that actually, because I would say that most games we work together until we can't.
Right.
Which is just like a weird player brain
against the spirit of a PvP battle royale.
But
I've
also,
always thought.
But also, like, there's
a ladder match.
Yeah.
Because
ladder match next time.
Because you could do something like that, right? Where it's a wrestling arena. Yeah. And I actually have various versions of that.
It's a 5x5 square map, and you're like, fight it out.
100%. And I was like, yeah, but that's just kind of be like, all right, who rolls highest on initiative and who has the best con. That's kind of the end of that discussion. Whereas if we have environmental hazards, that's great. And so the second year was our first year fully in pandemic.
This was online.
Yeah, so it was fully online.
Was this rings or was this waves?
This was zones.
This was the 20 triangles.
So I essentially, if you take an icosahedron, flatten it, and it turns into this beautiful little design of 20 shapes or 20 triangles, and we had portals to get between each of these rooms.
I really like that one.
And
each one was an environmental hazard.
Each one had its own shit going on, but also there was essentially a timer where random one of those was going to fall off the map.
There was something and maybe I'm making up this memory, but I remember going into one of the triangle zones and you basically being like, there is no air, you're in the astral sea, and you see a leviathan coming to eat you or whatever, and it's like, get out of this fucking zone as quickly as possible.
Yeah, there was something to that effect.
Yeah, it was wild. It's again, very fun. I really like the environmental hazards because it gives you something to do on turns where you're not close to people.
Yeah.
Which I think is really, really big.
And this also brings up another thing that you really need to consider with your PvP. These have mostly always been level 20. This year we actually did level 8. You need to have something that's going to chunk people's health away. because if they
take
These
forever.
people will fucking hide, and they will fucking heal.
Take forever. And
Like you played a rogue.
Yeah, I was just like, can I hide? I hide.
Yeah.
So this is another thing about how you built it, which I think was really good in the first few years. We've kind of moved away from it just because we've been trying other classes and stuff like that. But the way you did sort of mechanics for characters that didn't have combat-centric features and stuff like that was that you kind of added a stealth mechanic into the game for like rangers and bards and invisibility and rogues, where you could use your turn to hide and then move or whatever, and you'd essentially be like, okay, roll a stealth. That is what people need to beat to know where you are.
For a passive or an active.
And then essentially you had made on both sides of the mat a grid. So numbers and letters on one was numbers, one was letters, and you would just write down where your character was at the end of a turn.
Right. So that we as players can't see. And that was really one of the big things.
It was my idea.
Yeah.
Because I made the thing at least.
I will also say
the what?
I made like a little
tracker
chart.
Sheet? Yeah. That's true. You did.
One of the things I will say
I wasn't sure what you meant by your idea. I was like, oh, okay, the tracker sheet. Yep. Gotcha.
Is that the big thing about these games too is that every year we add more mechanics that are less about the fight and more about the like everything else. Like, and I do think that is going to be important, because if you just put someone in a 5x5 and just say like fight, it's actually kind of less interesting, because turn order happens. Like there's a lot of things that feel like you're out of control and you're just kind of feels bad. The actual fighting, I will say, every year probably is the part that feels the worst, because it's just
5e
like,
fighting.
Exactly.
It takes for fucking ever, and there's value to it, but we've said this all the time. We need a ticking clock.
Yeah, you need a ticking clock. You always try to provide one, which I think is great. But I will say it is hard to make the actual combat feel good, just because, like you were saying, Rio, every single one of these classes is made with the other classes in mind as someone you can coordinate with to cover your faults or whatever. And when you put those in opposition to each other, it's like, the bard has some healing, has great skill checks, has all these like get out of jail free cards and like damage mitigation, but cannot output the damage that a wizard can or whatever,
Which is why it's important for a lot of these to either give teams or let your players side talk and collaborate with each other.
Which, again, is probably the thing that makes it last as long as it does. But one of the most fun things is the politicking of it.
I think in the first 3 years, there was a lot of behind the doors texting.
Rio was literally like, I don't give a shit about anyone. I'm just going to kill you all. This is the thing I'm going to do.
He tried to be friendly with all of you for so long.
Which is really great.
He got betrayed a number of times.
But also, like, everyone else was like, House of Cardsing it, being like, if I give you this, I will promise you a even fight later on if we take out these people first. And it always, collapsed. And then eventually, on the first year, you and I were like, fuck this. We found dragons. We tried to ride out of the town with them.
The Valen Bill alliance was the best alliance.
Yes, that was very fun.
I got fucked over by Steven in year 3.
Yeah.
He still says he didn't fuck me over. But I was like,
the context.
Wait, that's not year 3. Year 3 was the one where we were completely collaborative.
Yeah, it was year 4.
Yeah.
Year 4.
Year 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I had I had a deck of many things. I had won it.
That was really fun. I loved when you just started pulling cards out at random. That was the best part.
And Steven was like, no, I'm going to have to kill you. It's like, no, these could work for us. But he wouldn't. He immediately turned to me as soon as I got it.
As soon as he turned on you, you should have just thrown all of them up in the air and drawn all of them at once.
No, you can't do that.
You can't?
I think you have to declare up to 3, and then you have to do it.
Yeah,
it has
something
to be intentional.
Like that.
Otherwise, the world would end. But yeah, I was flying, and he was like, we had an alliance. He's like, I can't risk you doing something that might, and then he killed me, and I was like, I can't. I was on the verge. Like, I was pulling the cards because it was my last thing that could save me.
Yeah.
And he was like, no.
And I got to tell you guys, another thing that I recommend for PvP is side betting.
Yeah, I think that was so fun.
You love to gamble.
Well, I think last year's game, the reason that everybody was still interested in Steven and Greg duking it out at the very end was because of all the side bets.
I will say that was
otherwise we would have all walked away like we did this year.
Yeah.
So and that's something that intentionally didn't put it in this year because I knew that
could be conflicts of interest.
There would be, exactly.
Because we had a 2-team thing.
Yeah, but I also knew that. So this year we did level 8 characters, which were 2 teams trying to get to. It was capture the flag essentially. There was a quote unquote 5-room dungeon.
Yeah,
and they started at opposite ends. They want to get to the center, and they want to take the diamond that's in the center, the MacGuffin, to the opposite end that the other team started at. And that's really the whole premise. There are various hurdles and challenges, and then of course when they meet, it's possibly chaos.
Possibly, it was chaos.
It was. But the prize this year is the character, that 8th level character, which was a brand new character, will be elevated to a minor godhood and able to impact some of my future games. Also able to gamble in every single ICO going forward.
Oh, so Hiveless gets the gamble?
Correct. So
That's Hiveless.
so you can gamble your godhood away, or gamble more godhood for yourself. And so that's something that I wanted to introduce. And it's I've got the sheet, I sent it to you, but going forward, gambling is always a part of the actual dome part.
And if you need to seek help for gambling, please call.
Don't gamble with actual money.
No,
we're talking about like fun little like silly
in-game stuff.
For example, one
It's
of
now
I
PvP
think,
and risk management.
one of the best side bets that we have ever had at the table was you, Franco, when you were like, I bet
I have
like this equipment that I want for my character if they roll 5 20s over the course of this game.
6 crits.
Yeah, 6 crits.
6 crit successes.
Yeah, and we were like at the point where 5 were rolled, then 6, and you were like, "Oh my fucking god, it's happening!"
But we had it blackjack rules where you couldn't go over.
Exactly.
And so we rolled a 7th one, and then it was really great.
Yeah, it was good.
I have what I like to call, and I'm just coming up with this now, the germ of a gambling addiction that I cannot nourish.
Yeah. Again,
Must not be nourished.
This is all like pretend stuff, but it's a way to keep your players engaged, because they will die. And just like when you die at the table, the first year I tried to, I had some
healing,
some light stuff, but I also had like a ton of ways for your character to come back, because I was like, I want them to still feel engaged. Didn't like that.
It took like 2 weeks.
It was way too long.
Yeah, it took like an extra like whole session to resolve the first one, and then the same people came out at the end that had been like at the end originally.
Exactly.
This is also another thing I will say about PvP in general, is that the psychology of TTRPGs have trained your players to work together, and so they are going to try to find any way possible to gather together to take on big threats, because you literally have been trained to do that.
Yeah.
So like one thing that always happens in our game is that someone will make a hyper powerful character that's min-max, and everyone will turn on them and kill them within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Franco.
Sean had 2 wizards.
Yeah.
Sean had a simulacrum.
They had
100%.
2 wizards. Too many wizards.
2 level 20 wizards.
And then
his own control, like absolutely fucking
We took out the simulacrum, and then his character, his real wizard, went into the tower, which was 100% a trap. That tower was death for anyone who entered there.
But he didn't die.
And
in the tower.
He got out of the tower, but
did he control the Lich? Because his intention was to go in and
he filled that role
and control the Lich.
He got close.
Yeah, he got real close.
Man, that would have been incredible.
If that happened, it would have been a nightmare.
So and that's the other thing about this is, I think for a good PvP experience, in addition to kind of doing all this, like 2 other big pieces of advice I will put. I did this the last few years where I was a player in them. I don't think I'll necessarily do that going forward, just because I've kind of gotten my fun out of that, and I just want to run it for you. But I will, you could give it a try, but you really have to set forward some fairness rules and a lot of like secret sheets that people are log sheets and things like that, like Franco designed. The other thing I'll note is this really is all about level design.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, one of my favorites, and nothing to say anything wrong about any of the other ones. Yeah. One of my favorites that we ever did.
They all suck.
It's like such a thing where you're kind of like, it's like, oh, you look so pretty today. Oh, I didn't look pretty yesterday.
Yeah. My absolute favorite one was Waves. Yeah. Where you had built sort of like a styrofoam, probably like 5 foot board.
Yeah, it was about 5 feet long, but it was about 2.5, 3 feet.
There was no grid, and we used rulers and shit.
Yeah, it was so fucking
It's very old school.
Yeah, it's very like kind of war gamey. But like the thing about that one that was fun was that there was a chance at any moment for somebody to turn against the group to be greedy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But everyone just like was having fun fighting all of the monsters because it was like the first wave was like X amount of goblins and whatever, but by the 20th wave it was like hydras and all this fucking crazy shit. And like Baylors. Larry or whatever his name was.
Gary. It was a reference to Gary Gygax.
I guess it was.
Also my neighbor Gary, who I just kind of have mixed feelings about.
Hi, I'm Gary.
So I decided he was a star spawn. This was just a very basic human that would just like appear, but he was walking a dog. He was just on the battlefield. He was walking a dog.
The first thing you said though was that like the dog was like, "Hi, I'm Gary," and he was like, "Woof," and we're like, "Oh,
the man said woof, and the dog said, "Hi, I'm Gary." Like
incredible.
And they moved weirdly as like one unit. It was like, nope, that's a bad thing.
Like the rope to the leash actually never fluctuated. Like the tightness of it or whatever.
I think like they hovered slightly above the ground or something. It was weird.
Lots of weird little things to be like danger. But it was fun. I really enjoyed it because it allowed us to be that collaborative while also kind of like flexing our muscles to be like, look at what I can fucking do. Yeah. Which was a blast. What about you guys? What was your favorite of the ones that we've done?
The last one, for several reasons. One, because I actually finally won.
Woo! Yeah, we did it. Yeah,
5 years in.
All 3 of you won. Yeah. I'm a loser. I actually always design these so that I lose a little bit, but
I also
if you designed it and you won, I would burn that mansion
I know
down.
that. That's why I want us to get our security deposits back.
And also like
I should have won the first one.
You really
I'm so mad. Every time I think about that, I just
you had foresight or whatever.
Foresight.
The shining stars.
Yep.
Oh my god, you
Managing
were a
darkness.
monster.
Yeah.
You were a paladin warlock against a rogue and a fucking monk.
I was just a hexblade warlock.
Oh, hexblade warlock. Sorry.
Yeah.
But Greg is always sneaky in these. Because everyone discounts Greg. As Greg's not gonna like fuck up my plans. Mm-hmm. He always fucks up your plans.
His rolls.
He's almost always like in the top. Too.
Yeah.
That man's rolls are clutch.
Yeah.
When he needs to, I have time and time again when I've DM'd for Greg, I'm like, I'm about to put him against a hard situation, and I know I can do it because something about his luck is okay. He will come out.
Yeah, he definitely killed Bill the first year. He just was like, "Oh, I have no choice." I was like, "You have so many other choices."
I don't remember how I died the first time.
Yeah, I think it was just you were super powerful, and everyone was like, "Let's go fuck this guy up."
I remember the second time.
I remember you surrounded by Greg, Steven, and maybe Sean was wizards.
Sean was definitely fucking.
There was one other like martial character that basically just boxed you in and hit you, and you still almost killed 2 of them. But they took you down eventually.
It may have been Nick, Sean, and Steve. Or I'm sorry, Nick, Greg, and Steven.
I think it was because I was on the trebuchet or whatever it was, because you made a thing where like high skill.
We also had
could
2
use
dragons on the battlefield at that point.
Yeah, one of them turned to stone though. Remember?
That's true. So. Yeah.
I wish we had written this shit.
Oh, we do. We have log sheets.
Yeah, I guess we do.
It's all new information to me.
I have the log sheets. And actually, one of these days I'll archive it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm. So you liked this year, which was Rio liked this year, which was
it was teams. It was like red versus blue. It was a puzzle, random encounters, middle combat room, and then getting to the other side.
Yeah.
So
and tune in next week for our episode about how to like make that sort of puzzle journey.
Yeah.
I will tell you, it got tedious at the end.
Yeah.
Because we had already had our combat. It was just, can you get out?
We were also tired.
Please, for the
we already had our cake by
We had
beating
our
Steven
cake,
to death.
we had eaten it too, and we were just looking at crummy plates. And is this party over yet?
As soon as Steven was dead, like I think you and I like made eye contact and we were like, yeah, we fucking did it.
Hey, he went down and you still didn't have the diamond at that point. There was a chance. There was a small chance that I might get there.
That's why we stomped him.
So many times, like the three of us were like planning and we were like, listen, I know that it makes more sense to like grab the diamond or whatever, but if we kill the brains of the operation,
if we kill Steven,
it's just the strategic mind that is like behind it.
If we destroy Steven, who's the most brilliant of us all,
he's just
strategist.
He's just a strategist.
He's just a very good strategist. But I think the three of us are very good strategists in our own right.
Yeah,
and
together, 3 versus 1.
Together we figured it out.
Because I would say my strength is coming up with creative solutions that I can't pull off with the details.
Yeah.
But Franco's really good with detail work.
That's true.
And I'm good at the politicking.
And you're good at social,
But you're also good at tactics because you're like a war gamer.
Yeah, I'm not very good at puzzles though, so I was super glad to have you two in the first room. Yeah. Same with Greg, because also we could just be like, Greg, why don't you go step on that?
Hey, Greg, you did great.
Greg
did really good.
He's the only. I'm telling you, he's the only reason you all lived throughout.
Totally.
Oh
yeah. I will also say when it comes to Greg, like. The only thing that I was like, the only thing that made me be like, I'm going to have to kill one of my own team members was when I could see him starting to feel bad for Sean with the heat metal. And he was like, I'm not going to kill you. I was like,
Greg was heat metaling the paladin, and it takes 10 minutes.
You couldn't get out of the
And you couldn't get out of it because it takes 10 minutes to get out of it. And it was like, wait.
So fucking
It's like,
mad.
he
couldn't break his concentration either because he was a druid, so he just became like a bear or whatever.
Well, he just kept running away.
Yeah, and he was just faster. It was so brutal.
Well, and then
there was no range on it.
Yeah, and then what were you gonna say?
Well, he was like, Greg started to be like, I feel really bad about this. This is not fun. This is not fun for Sean specifically to just have someone heat metal him to death. 2 things. 1, that's just a clock. Sean could have, by the time, because he was just chasing Greg around, he could have probably killed at least one of us because he was just a monster. Like he had like a 21 AC.
I don't know how much of his lay on hands he used.
He at the very
used
end
all of it.
He did, okay.
But that was like at the end after he went down, like something. But
there's no way I could have hit him either because I was a barbarian.
100% died.
I would have just been like, please.
He could have taken us all out in that time.
Yep. And the thing about it too was that like Sean was like, I got to stop this damage, which is a classic sort of like hyper focusing on something, missing like the rest of the team. Yeah. But the thing was that like I remember us also looking at each other, being like, we're gonna have to kill Greg because he's starting to feel bad for Sean. And like once Sean went down, he was like, I'm not gonna kill Sean. I was like, should we go back and curb stomp? Like, is that the best thing we could do?
I thought it was interesting too that like. Well, I kind of got what Greg meant at a certain point where he was like, it is not fun to just heat metal him to death. And he was like, I want to go toe-to-toe with him and beat him. And then he did. Yeah. Which was very cool. I was like, I respect that. I would have also probably done that. I would have gotten bored of just heat metalling him and running away.
I love Greg that he has so much forgiveness in his heart. The 3 of us left him behind. We're like, fuck that guy. We're gonna get
It's kind of true because we were just kind of like, oh, you're gonna do that? We're gonna go because we got the diamond and we killed everybody
we'll
else.
all win together. Stay alive, maybe.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I as a note about the it was the end of the night, breadcrumbs, all that stuff. I thought going to level 8 would make it a shorter game.
It did not.
It did not.
Yeah. Well, actually, why don't we talk about this and like the other things that we would stay away from, or like the walls we put around these games right after this break. Hey everyone, it's me, Nick, from the Tabletop Podcast. When I'm not hosting, I'm thinking about ways to create a better podcast for you guys, and I think I landed on something pretty fun. In fact, if you go to our Patreon at patreon.com/tabletopped and join for as little as $1 a month, you can get access to a new episode a month that we're going to start putting out. In fact, we're going to be calling this one Wild Magic, I think, in that we're going to talk about anything and everything that interests access, not just TTRPGs, though there will be a lot of that. It is truly unhinged, and if you are a fan of the podcast and all of the hosts, you're definitely going to want to be on it. We're thinking of dropping these at the end of each month, so join our Patreon today. That is patreon.com/tabletop. Oh, and there's going to be so much more coming out in the new year there, so don't miss it. Sign up today. Welcome back to Tabletop. We're talking about PvP.
How long is this episode going to be?
Right now it's 38 minutes, but I think we can wrap it up another 15.
Okay, gotcha. I was like, this is a very late break.
You're like, wow, this is so long. Nobody will care about that.
No, it's not what I meant. I meant the thing that I said earlier.
So why don't we talk
Don't
about
put words in his mouth.
I already have words.
They're fine. Let's talk about what we were talking about just before the break, which was things that we would do to warn against, or like when you're designing this, let's like think about these.
Yeah,
things
let's all criticize Shades,
Please,
because he's the only.
please.
Well, because he's the only one that makes these.
Yeah, good nature
too. Yeah.
You were about to say something, so let's start with you.
And please, that's how you grow. Let me know things you didn't like about it. I probably also didn't like them about it as well, to be honest. First and foremost, I love that you have an 8-person table or whatever. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't just I could never bring myself to say like I'm only going to run PvP for the 4 of us in this room, and that means I'm going to be the DM and you 3 are going to. I could never really bring myself to do it because we have this tradition, and I love all of you so much. But don't do it to yourself. It's not worth it. 8 people PvP is just going to take forever.
Because the thing about what you said about when we started at level 20, it took a long time. When we were at level 8, it took a long time. It's because it's in relation to the other people at the table. So you're all like your damage mitigation scales, your damage output scales. So it's just like it's always going to take about the same amount
of time. And in fairness, there are other reasons why this year took a little longer. Some internal logistics. Also,
we were playing a lot of Towerfall.
We were in 2 separate rooms, which made the DM have to go back and forth.
I had some back and forth action going because I started us off different, and I wanted to give you all chances.
The pizza was 30 minutes away.
Yeah, we literally did not have our dinner sorted in time, and that took a good hour.
Who would have more rural location than we thought we were?
Yeah, we were all like, we'll just order something. And then we looked just like, there is not anything.
Lesson 1 in running a PvP. Get your logistics out of the way first. Where's everyone going to be sitting? Where's the food coming from?
Which we normally do have. This year we were a little looser on it, and that was cool and great, but we paid a price.
Usually we go in the dead of winter, and no one's going to leave this house for any reason.
And then it was like warm, and people are like, oh man, there's a porch swing? Let's go fucking hang out
Let's go outside.
Yeah, let's go outside. Let's go watch some stars. Oh, is that a creepy half-built gazebo in the middle of the woods? Let's do that.
Expo. Covered in ticks.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that I would say too is that I think that the more exciting part of these games is the environmental work that you put in, the level design, as you said. I get so excited every time I'm like, what the fuck kind of like puzzle do I have to work my character into a key to like get through?
Work myself into a key.
Which is great.
I like that.
I have so much fun doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so I think that if you're doing a specific PvP game, spend 90% of your time on the environment, on the things that can happen, even if your characters never fight each other, because that is probably going to be about 80% of the game of people positioning before they're like, okay, I'm going in for the kill. And having to deal with the environment is going to be 80% of the game then. So that is the most important part.
And there's a philosophy to this in video games, and I've done versions of this already with Ico. And it is the battle royale, like Fortnite kind of bullshit, where they have that constantly shrinking.
I like that one. That was
cool. That was last year.
Yeah, that was last year. That was Rings. Yeah. But also the zones was kind of the same idea, and
of like them falling.
And that philosophy can be applied no matter whether you actually have a shrinking ring or not. It's the philosophy of like, there are other hazards that are going to push your players together, because the safest place in some respects is actually interacting with each other.
You know what you could do? If you want just a quick and easy how to run this kind of thing, and you're like, I don't have any ideas for a great environmental thing, take the prophecy map from Morkborg and just every turn roll on that and then have that affect the world, because all of it's like all the water turns to tar, oh the sky lights on fire, and a horde of like barbarians from the west start invading. It's like you can just do all that and just have that all like correspond to different things. So every turn, at the end of the turn, you just roll and see what prophecy happens.
Dragonlance, the Dragonlance 5e book also has like battle, like war stuff that's happening.
Oh yeah, like the events
on the
or whatever.
battlefield events. Yeah.
But I think like just to kind of circle back, I just think that stuff is what you're going to want to spend most of your time on. What about you two? Anything that you think is like really important about
as far
building
as, like, planning ahead?
Yeah, and or even as a player, like as a player, recommendations and all that.
I don't know.
I would say character creation stuff needs to be done ahead of time.
Yeah, I didn't mind doing it all together.
It was fine. We usually do have it
like a
in
time
advance.
thing.
But we did it because I had reasons for wanting to do it in person together this year, which in retrospect wasn't necessary. Having it so table talk is very important for these, I think, and having that chance to build your characters ahead of time and share with each other and be like, so Rio, I see in our D&D Beyond that you're building someone who has wings. I'm going to be a little guy.
This is such a important part that I totally missed before. One of the key parts of all of this is that you have always made all of our characters viewable to everybody else.
Transparency.
So like the equality of information. If you are super, wanting to win, you can go through everyone's character sheets and, min-max your best matches and all that kind of stuff.
What if next time, like if I feel like Shade maybe does this because he is also a participant, but if you just DM it next time, then it could be secret.
You know what could be really interesting? It wouldn't be fair. But it could be really fun, is that we all roll on a 20-sided die. That's the level that we are going into.
Jesus.
The zone.
That is not fair, yes.
And it is,
You're right.
it is completely no information between characters, so everyone has to assume like they're probably level 20. I have to treat them as such. And then you like go up against it, and it could be like, I'm a level 1 warrior.
That's a crazy idea.
I think it could be so fun
at all.
I think it could be really fun.
I'm gonna bookmark that. Okay, cool.
Because I think that but then this is the thing, Riop, is like if it was just a box where you all jump in and start fighting, yes, it wouldn't be very fun. But with enough good level design, because maybe there are ways around the map to level up.
Yeah,
like that you siphon
that's
some
exactly
god
what I
power
already thought about.
Yeah.
So, and another reason I do have that level of transparency, in addition to me being a player in these traditionally, we use D&D Beyond, and not that I don't think people won't, but we're curious. We may want to look at each other's player sheets sometimes, and I don't want to have to go in there and make sure that everyone has the do not share thing. I don't know, but I guess I could. I did forget that there's a privacy version of this.
Yeah. It is fun. I think that would put a lot more pressure on the backdoor negotiations of like, you want to team up or whatever, and then you like sell them on your character like, oh, I'm a warrior, I can protect you, you're a wizard, and then it's like, oh, I have a level 2 warrior protecting me, like I'm a level 20 wizard. Like this doesn't matter.
What do you guys think of using something that isn't 5e for this? I think 5e is really good because it's a war game. It's a apparently gridded combat is an optional rule.
It is an optional rule,
which I didn't think about.
I don't like 5e combat.
No, that's fair.
So
that's
like
valid.
that's just my thing. Like
what
honestly,
about like 4e combat?
That would be great.
Okay.
This is just cards. Everyone has cards. You have a certain amount of uses. It's very much more video gamey. And deck buildy in a little way.
I 100% am into doing other systems, and we've dabbled with that. I also need to remind that for us, we would have to get everyone to learn a new system.
Not very viable for us.
And for a smaller group, great, go for it.
Because like for me, what I would really like is to find some sort of skirmish war game that we all are into, and just be like, okay, there's 8 armies on this battlefield. We've hacked, the rules so that we can have all these players. Let's fucking go. Like we're now.
I think we should just do that.
Because it could be really fun. It would just be really fun. Like X-Wing has good space rules. Like you were just talking about maybe using X-Wing rules as like the robot, because you were pitching sort of idea of like a
Rio
mecha. Sorry, I'm not just pointing at Rio.
So yeah, I'm planning a battle royale for our next one.
Yep.
Shade's going to be doing a murder mystery take.
Because we brought in some folks who don't play tabletop games, and I want to be inclusive in this fun thing that we do. So,
which is stupid. So I'm planning the actual grid combat version.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? No, I think I'll plan for next year's ICO too. Why not?
No, we've already.
So here's the thing about
it.
like X-Wing and stuff is that it is much more skill and tactics oriented and much less like guns blazy, which I think our group is pretty split down the middle between people who like to run in and people who like really like to strategize. So I'm excited to see how that works. I also think it would be really cool to have, because like in X-Wing, the most optimal ships are smaller, less attack heavy, or like the hulls are less, the shields are less, the weapons are less, but they're super maneuverable. And like, how do you get that sort of feeling in there as well? Like maybe you want to be a level 20 wizard that has crazy damage output but is super weak. Like, how do you translate that into a skirmish game? I'm sure that there are ways. I'm excited to try to find out.
I think there's another thing that I wanted to try out, which was like a fire squad type of thing, where you like each player creates like a.
You would love Infinite. Infinite is a war game where you basically build like a 5-person or less squad, and it is hyper lethal because it's like if you get shot, you are essentially dead.
Nice.
But it is all about positioning and tactics, because you're basically moving through like a warehouse, like a hauled interior.
Again, level design.
Yeah, it's level design.
Exactly,
yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I really like the idea of doing that for. I want to do that and have like each of the players face off against each other and just do like a round robin tournament or something like that.
That could be really fun too. Yeah. Take forever, but it would be very fun.
It would take forever. I wouldn't think of it as like a thing to do over the weekend. I would think of it as like a thing to do over like a couple months. We just create a league.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like I had an idea for a team which would be 3 goblins out of a trench coat.
And they're trying to find the trench coat?
No, they're just 3 goblins.
Yeah, and a rug of smothering.
That's fun.
Any other big things that people want to mention about PvP in general when you're making this sort of combat for your table? One thing I will say, we blazed by this fact: do not include any environmental healing. Like, we kind of learned that.
Yeah, or limit it.
Yeah.
Like make it something that needs to be risked to get.
Yeah, do the Hunger Games cornucopia thing of like the best things are in the middle in plain sight, and someone could meteor swarm your grabbing your stuff.
There's nothing more annoying than like, oh, you've been playing for 3 hours, you're finally about to have someone down, and they're like, oh, I found 100 points of healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a moment I remember, because people who were dead could then revive people on the inside of the dome.
On the first year.
We were learning a lot.
Yeah.
Like, one of the reasons why it went forever is that like there were 3 people left. And then after the next hour had passed, everyone was back up, and we were like, "What the fuck is happening? Everyone is getting back up. How do we finish this?"
And then a fucking global pandemic happened.
Yeah.
I will never forget walking home from the museum, knowing that the next day, because I was working at a museum at the time, knowing the next day was going to be the finale of our first year of Icosahedrodome, and that was the day that. I was walking home early from work because we had made the determination to go ahead and shut down because things were a little weird.
Yeah.
And then I was messaging you all in our Discord being like, guys, I think maybe we should play online tomorrow for reasons. And
we were all like, boo.
Yeah, and we played online for 3 more sessions.
3 more years.
I can't believe it took that much longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was much longer. I think
I kind of don't remember that.
Yeah, the first year was like just probably the longest out of
100%. 6 sessions.
Yeah, so I would say too is like whatever time limit you have in mind,
Double it.
Yeah, double it for sure.
I would say that like if you have like, oh, I have 3 sessions to run this, plan as though you only have like one or 2 sessions.
You need a doomsday button.
Yeah.
To start killing people after it's gone on for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also say minimizing the time it takes for people to make their turns. When there's teams, we had already decided on our terms, our turn order and like what we were going to do way ahead of time because we're all doing it together. But when you're solo, you kind of have to wait until the person before you goes, which means that you are coming up with your turn on your turn every time, which can really slow things down. Surprisingly,
because if you think about it, you would think that like, oh, I can plan my turn ahead of time while everybody else is doing their turn. But everybody else is doing, because like usually you're like, oh, let me base what I do based on like what everybody else is doing, but I still have like the same general feel, and you're all kind of talking about what you're gonna do.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you're just by yourself, you're like, just like, oh, everything has changed since my last turn because 7 other people have have unleashed their tactics.
There was in year 1, there was a moment I was so fucking pleased with this because I roll okay. I don't have like the best luck with the dice.
I would say, in fact, you have bad luck with the dice. I paired with an extraordinary ability as a player that has made up for that fact.
Yeah, thank you. That's very kind of you. I'm not like nat ones all over the place, but I did a scatter on everyone in the first year. It's literally a teleportation spell. It's like, I need you all to make, you either can willingly be teleported somewhere else, in this space that I can, in a certain range, or I need you to make a save against this, and I'm going to fucking choose where you're teleported.
Yeah.
And that moment immediately changed a bunch of stuff, and it was a big middle finger to Sean in particular.
Yeah, because he was like so close to his objective.
He was so close to a bunch of things, and it was. It also kind of a middle finger to Jackie because she was going to do something that I was like, oh, hell no.
Well, this is the thing about both Sean and Jackie every time we play is that they play such strong characters.
They play strong characters.
And I feel like they always feel a little unsatisfied by the end because everyone else are like, that's a pretty fucking strong character. They have to die.
I think one of my favorite moments in the first one was when we had the incident point where we all got brought together. We were all next to each other. And then Shade did his Steel Wind Strike attack on everybody, which was just like basically an anime attack that hits everybody with a bunch of stuff.
Teleportation's the best, man.
Well, and then what I did was I used Tomb of Levistus, and I didn't take any of that damage.
You fucking tanked it.
I tanked the shit out of it.
Pissed.
Well, this is the thing.
It was like my favorite moment.
Because Franco, you've also been on both sides of this, of having made a really strong character and also being like, I'm not going to be that person this year that gets killed in the first.
I mean, that happened to me. That's happened to me every time that we've had like a competitive one where we're just like, oh, okay, I've never been in the winner's circle.
Yeah. Well,
this time.
This is the thing. This is the thing, Franco, is that I would take that as people saw you as a legitimate like threat.
Hey,
right?
They're right.
Yeah, and that's why everyone did it. And like for me, that's why I'm always like, I'm just a rogue. I'm not. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. The only time I really got fucking demolished.
I can't be not me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The only
that's what's going to happen if you decided to do this like year after year after year. There's going to be a meta.
Yeah. And I think there has been.
There is a meta.
Oh yeah. People don't really choose really high level spellcasters anymore because everyone's like, that's fucking dangerous. We got to get them off the board. Yeah. Like last year, I had this way of like it was a sorcerer, and I was in like old school ASMR, which means that like I had crazy like health regen. I could like regen spell slots, a lot of crazy things. I flew up. I made one mistake, which is I didn't counterspell something that stunned me or whatever, but I was only able to get one meteor swarm off when I could have done, I had planned it out that I was going to do 3 turns in a row of meteor swarms. And everyone was like, oh, I'll just like take you out. And I was like, fuck, I didn't do it. And this is another point actually. I would say if you're going to PvP with your players at your current table and they want to like, oh, let's make characters, encourage them to stay with the class that they are in currently for your first one. I think that because you don't know what other classes do. At least I don't. Like when I was a level 20 sorcerer or whatever.
Well, that brings up why character creation should happen beforehand, so you have time to
learn,
actually learn and memorize.
Yeah.
What are you capable? Because I made a monk for the first time. I was like, what can he actually do? I was like, reading the things.
Yeah.
I pretended to be dead just so I had time to read.
Oh, that was another strategy. That was very funny.
My favorite part, and this is what we end on, but my favorite part of this year was the moment where, because Shade and Rio had moved to another room really quickly because Rio was like, I want to pretend as though I am lost in the dungeon and basically dead. So Franco and I and Greg all were pretending along with you. To your credit, you also did this because Rio had rolled a very high stealth check and it was like a fun thing. My favorite moment was when you were like, Rio, do we have to continue? And Rio did not flinch and was like, what are you talking about?
Because Rio was... Well, Rio was about to come back into the game, into the room. And he was like,
on his turn.
We were telling him
for him to do.
Hey, just come back into the room.
Yeah.
And Rio refused to drop kayfabe.
Yeah, he was so deep in the lie that he could. And there was a couple moments of you just staring at Rio, being like, I don't want to blow up your spot, which was very kind of you. But you were also like, but the time is over. And Rio was like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, like totally
I'm still lost and dead.
Yeah, and he was like, oh, okay, I finally beat the DC or whatever. It's like, what is happening?
And I was like, no, you didn't. You were hiding. We know what.
Steven said that he didn't buy it for a fucking second.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Which is very funny to me. I was just
if I'm gonna stick to a bit, like to a false.
Yeah.
I'm Rio's not dropping it until I'm absolutely sure that I don't need it anymore.
Rio's like, I am the bit.
I feel like it would have been more satisfying to drop the bit immediately and just be like, okay, I just come out. And you're like, huh? What? Perhaps Jackie and Sean were fooled. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't remember.
No idea.
So, everyone, this was our episode on PvP and how...
PvP and me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. PvP and me. That's going to be the title of the episode.
You're welcome.
Congratulations, Franco. We hope that you enjoyed our recommendations. Also, if you like Tabletop, go to our Patreon, patreon.com/tabletoped. You'll get some extra episodes. Also, I've been going crazy and just dropping a bunch of episodes, both for free listeners and for paid Patreon listeners. So there's stuff on there, even if you don't pay anything. Go check it out. It's fun. Join the crew. Also, if you want to talk to us, then you can go to our website, tabletopod.com, and send us a message on our contact form. If you want us to talk about the something on the show, we'll definitely do that. And if you just want to contact us, we read everything, so send it on in. And is there anything else that we should talk about?
Get out there and fight each other.
Yeah, just go and fucking break the bones of your friends.
EVP and you and me.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.